From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, Vop TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. Vop TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
All right, good morning to you. Welcome to the Monday edition of VOP this morning. It's a beautiful Monday. And of course, it's congratulations to the President of Nigeria as he has been re-elected chairman of Ecowas Authority of Heads of State and Government. So we say congratulations to Mr. President once again. I am Moses Humphrey, welcoming you on board.
I'm Fina Okechukwu. I say good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. It's the new or the fresh week edition of the VOP. This morning, there's a breakfast show on Voice of the People Television. And like Moses Wadler said, we're saying congratulations to Nigeria in general to still be the head of ECOWAS. You know, but all the same, I believe this will actually help to make the people who left ECOWAS, and I'm talking about those who are running under the junta, that are trying to war to come back to the status quo. I believe this will enable them to know that ECOWAS as a regional bloc is still viable.
It's a beautiful morning and I bid you welcome. Good morning, Nigeria. What a time to be alive. David Edwin saying welcome to VOP this morning. Well, just like my colleagues have said, congratulations to the president. But the question on the lips of a lot of persons would be, would the other countries that have exited ECOWAS return? Was ECOWAS the reason? Was the administration of power and support the reason for this country's leaving before now?
Of course, it wasn't the reason. They had their issues in their countries. They had coups that have resurfaced in some parts of Africa.
Yeah.
And these coups were there before the Tinubu administration came into power. So.
But he actually blamed some people, especially the Nigerian government, for closing its borders, saying that ECOWAS was built on free trade region where they can actually have free passages of people from the bloc region. And you know, the fact that the past administration come up with measures to make sure they reduce the issue of insurgency. And also they talked about the fact that they were crying to other African nations, talking about how jihadists have taken over their countries and they weren't even getting the necessary, according to them, the necessary aid that they need for them. And that actually was what it mean, or what they see to be a slap on their face.
Oh, well, let's not forget that the closure of the borders at the time by Nigeria against the Republic of Niger and some of the states that were having unrest was as a deterrent, really, to as a punishment, so they can rethink their steps. Now, the issue is, did that work? Did the junta, did they succumb to the threats by ECOWAS? Did they decide to hand over power to an elected government? ECOWAS gave them 7 days ultimatum.
Oh, yes.
That was not feasible, really. Now, how did that go? How did that work? I think the previous administration of Ecowas, heads of state and government, learned their lessons. Whether or not the countries that have left, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, and Niger, will they come back? We wait to see. We wait to see. And we know why they left. They were threatened. They have to put their countries, in place, put things in place in their countries. Maybe, just maybe, when that is done, when things are sorted and they return to democratic rule in their different countries, maybe then they will come back.
Do you
they
think
will
that
rejoin
is feasible?
Ecowas.
Given the
we
fact
don't
that
know.
some people are pointing at them, saying that they've decided to move to the east to look for help. I'm talking about going to the far east.
To Russia.
Russia. That,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we know that these countries were former colonies of France, and President Tinubu is, he's a good friend of Emmanuel Macron of France. Well, we also know that in France, Emmanuel Macron's party seems to be losing votes. They had exit polls the other day, and the new front party, something that's a new front party seems to be gaining grounds, and the administration of Macron is threatened. So will that bring a turnaround of policies around countries that have been under under France? Will that countries in Africa under France? Will that bring around a turnaround of policies? We'll wait to see.
Talking about policies and turnaround, there in Liberia, we're meant to know that Numa Joseph, that's Boakai, come up with this statement of slashing his salary to 40%.
When I saw that news, it was an interesting one for me because, yes, one would want to applaud him for that move because, according to him, he said it's about good governance, right? But the most important part of this is, did he before now declare his entire salary?
He did. He did that last month or thereabout, before coming up to say, I want to reduce this, because he promised the people that if you eventually get there to be the president, which he was elected to be as of the 22nd of January 2024, and then he said that he's going to make sure that the cost of governance is being reduced. But my question is this: he has been there as a vice president since 2006 to 2018. Let's remember that. And now he is now the president, and he's talking about reducing or slashing his salary by 40%. If he actually believes that he wants to make sure that the cost of governance in the country is being looked into, why not, do other things? We don't even know how much he's been earning presently. Some people say it's $90,000, which it has been a long time before now when they last updated it.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that one. We'll keep our eyes on that story and other stories as well. Well, let's get into the papers after this break. Come with us and be part of the conversation. Join us on YouTube. We are Voice of the People TV. I know that's where you're watching from right now, but go ahead and click the subscribe button so you can be part of everything that we do right here. And don't forget to drop your comments underneath, drop your comments in the comment section and be part of the conversation right here. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the papers. Come with us.
From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's law.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. Showing from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Thank you for staying with us. Still VOP this morning on Voice of the People Television, and we're moving straight down to the front pages of the national dailies. We have with us on the studio Mr. Akin Fatunke, who is an economist, a communication consultant, and he's here in the studio this morning in capacity of a public affairs commentator. Good morning, Mr. Akin.
Good morning.
Good to have you in the studio.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
Nice one.
David and Moses.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, let's move straight down to the front pages of the national dailies. Before me this morning, we have the Vanguard newspaper. And we have a major pictorial there which shows, it has a headline, Brewing Industry Choking Over High Cost of Raw Materials. And we have the riders there to be. Expenses rise 113% to 188 billion naira. Importation alternative stifled by high exchange rate. Top brewers borrows 812 billion naira to survive. Loan repayment, the cost rises to 191%. Losses escalated by 1,034%. And you can get that details and more on page 34 of the Vanguard newspaper. And just above the nameplate, the window headlines there. This one is on insecurity. Tinubu talks Ecowas member state on financial commitment. And that's on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. YCBN insists on another recapitalization, according to Caucus. So you can get that on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And we come beside that, beside the pictorial. Court orders ex-minister to account for $729 billion. Wow, that's a huge amount. And that is on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. And that is one of the things we'll be looking at today. It's part of our talking point today on the morning show. Kidnapped journalist. Police combed first as NUJ demands release. You can get that on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. And we have more like an editorial, which is on page 15. Monday interview, MKO 26 years after. Why this nonsense must stop. And that is by Abiola. So if you have any interest in this, you can go straight down, pick the Vanguard newspapers, and then go through so that you have the details, information, as regards all the headlines we'll read out. Mr. Akin, when I was going through those headlines, you were you're nodding your head as an elder you are, and I know you have a lot you want to talk about. So which of these headlines do you want to react to?
The brewing industry is growling, and they are not alone for the cost of raw materials. Please add on to that the logistics for import substitution. We have virtually become import dependent. And I know that at one point in time, the plan was for the backward integration. The brewery plants, the confectionery plants, Nestle, just mentioned it, even the pharmaceuticals were actually thinking of putting their farm and their farmlands together so that they can backward integrate as much as they could. The essence being, one, increase what you can call employment and employment capacity. Secondly, reduce the stress on forex. None at that time envisaged that Nigeria was going to be in a state of anomy that we have found ourselves by way of the security, herdsmen, farmers clash. So that is real. It speaks to the fact that we virtually went to bed on a backward integration initiative, not helped by the advent of COVID, the global shocks that came with COVID. Just name them. So where are we right now? We are paying heavily for what we did not plant.
Now, speaking of paying heavily, does this look like, with these figures, that's 188 billion, isn't this a concern? Is there the possibility that this industry might just be going extinct, just like some did go extinct, particularly the textile industry in Nigeria?
Oh, well, the fears are latent, they are there. They will always be there. But what, therefore, is management for you to recalibrate,
talking about
re-strategize?
Guinness just left.
Re-strategize, they didn't leave, they changed their mode. I am in the oil and gas industry. ExxonMobil left us because they needed to change their operational modes. That is not happening only in Nigeria. But yes, we are focusing on Nigeria. I think the harsh economic climate not helped in any way by our attempt, I use the word attempt, by our attempt to repair a lot of the rust that we've had. I think by way of implementation, it's not helping. We take one step forward, and then 2 steps are backwards, and then you want to, by the time you reclaim, at least you try your best to reclaim 1 step, you are still 1 step backwards.
Is there a possibility that the government can help in making this industry do better from this point that they are? Because 812 billion borrowing fund to help an industry to get better. I mean, this is quite a figure. Is there a way the government can help?
Looking at our NPR rate to make this
sustainable?
Certainly. Certainly.
With the rate of the NPR, so 26.25%.
We can go into the economics. All those numbers, I have an idea of where. But can we go to the basics? Are we secured? Are we secured? Is Nigeria secured? Even if you want to do backward integration, situations where you are beheading farmers and then cows and herdsmen are running roughshod across, not just Nigeria, across the Sahel, and the fact that we have not been having the political will, I repeat, the political will to do the right things in terms of border closure. We are not earning enough. By the time you could say Robinson before Jack, the Jackpot syndrome is up all there. The educational institutions are not working. Our health, from consulting clinics, is now comatose. So all I'm saying, the fundamentals need to be put in place. And then, of course, the almighty democracy, our election and electoral process needs a lot of recalibration. Perhaps we have become too big. We need to become smaller to be much more efficient.
As an economist,
in different parts. Yeah.
As an economist, Mr. Akin, just in less than 30 seconds before we move over to another headline, another paper, let me put it that way, why CBN insists on another recapitalization? Do you think that this will help Nigerian economy?
Yes, it will help Nigeria.
Remember, we've tried first, it didn't work out, then we have to come again with another second one now.
Yes, the first time it worked very well.
How do you mean?
It will take me 1 hour for me to analyze.
Okay.
We had no, hang on, but no, seriously speaking,
Right.
you have touched on the nerve of the future of Nigeria, your future, my future, future of my grandchildren, in sense that what we have in the banking industry so far has not helped us. Cash and carry, quickery. We needed strong banks that will be able to lend to the commanding heights. This one, lend state governors to go and build roads. We'll be doing round tripping. We are really not doing the right kind of banking that we need. The Soludo consolidation was top notch. Yes, I mean, it could not have been 100%, but in my estimation, the Soludo recapitalization paved way for the financial inclusion that we have reached so far. We are not yet there. For technology to have come, and for the fact that we had very serious offshore partners that came into Nigeria. And so you had the Agbomagbe that became Wema, you had the ACB that went comatose, and quite a number of others that went under. The Nigerian banking system, especially the one that we have had in the past 8, 9, going to about 9 years under MFLA, was nothing but a hogwash. And so we need serious recapitalization where we will not be looking for, I hope you won't mind if I say this, Fina, pretty girls like you will be working in banks, and on your first day they will ask you to go and look for 2 billion. From where? You can't get that. And has ripple effect on quite a number of things. The way to go, and I can say for sure, thank you for giving me this opportunity, because the stakeholders are aware there are forces ganging up to try and see, for one reason or the other, that the recapitalization should not happen. Let's continue to be a regional banks here and there, and while that is going, we are not doing the things that we are, we are supposed to be doing. Pure and simple.
All right then. Well, quite an elaborate one there. Let's go to another daily now. The Guardian is up next. The banner headline here reads, and it's of major interest because this will have to do with people being laid off. Revenue expenditure mismatch. States may sack 600,000 employees to implement minimum wage. Interesting. And then there is a breakdown. Total IGRs of states, 2018, 1.1 trillion naira. 2019, 1.56 trillion naira. 2020, 1.21 trillion naira. 2021, 1.6 trillion naira. And 2022, 1.8 trillion naira. Well, 2023 total states personnel cost equals 1.94 trillion naira. Right beside that one, we have states with highest personnel cost to revenue ratio. Kano, 41%, Imo, 37.6%, Adamawa, 37.3%, Taraba, 37.2%, Ogun, 35.6%. Now, states with the lowest personnel cost to revenue ratio, we have Akwa Ibom with 15.6%, Ebonyi, 16.4%, Bayelsa, 16.4% as well, Lagos, 16.6%, and Anambra, 17.6%. Okay, I would like you to touch on this statement, really, that about 600,000 people may be laid off for minimum wage of 62,000 naira, because that's where we still are right now. Government hasn't increased it, and governors are saying, no, we can't pay this amount of money. All right, let's go quickly. Underneath that headline, we have NDLEA arrest couple, recover 2.1 billion naira worth of drugs in Lagos raid. Ecowas, Tinubu begins new mandate, tasked to return breakaway states. How feasible? We'll wait to see. Saying that almost all the states in Ecowas have one form of coup or the other. It's either anyway, let's move away. Students loan 115 state-owned institutions yet to submit enrollees data. ICPC intercepts 10 billion naira of COVID-19 fund in MDA account, 100 million naira in personal account. Interesting. NLC insists on 250,000 naira, vows to reject FG's 62,000 naira minimum wage. We're just talking about that one. Petrol scarcity lingers in Abuja and Lagos. Queues resurface in states. All right. And concerns as socioeconomic pressure heightens suicide missions among youths. All right. These are the headlines from the Guardian newspaper. Mr. Fatunke.
When you are lazy, when you are inextricably lazy, or, too much wealth or too much enjoyment make you not to be able to think straight, you get into some of the sound bites that we get. We always get that sound bites. Yes, in terms of economics, it has to be, can you pay? And if you cannot pay, two things will go for it. You lay off.
You're talking about the minimum wage?
Yes.
Okay.
You lay off, or you calibrate yourself, and you set good example. Look, I speak from the position of practical experience. In the private sector, where I used to work for, we got into this crossroad. The first thing we did was to have a vision that, wait, others first before management. Those under the pyramid needed to be taken, no matter how small, while those at the top does not take anything home. That's what we are finding. You see, when you do that, it's not going to be enough, but people begin to see situations where
you are sacrificing.
They may sacrifice because they believe and then they trust in you. We are not saying that. That's one. Secondly, I say intrinsically be lazy because quite a number of employees, or what you call, whatever it is, whether contract, whether regular employees, are not trained and fit for purpose. I know in the public service, I have seen in the public service, that to move file between here and there is going to be 3 of us. So it will take me 2 days for me to move it to David. It will take David 1 week to move it to you.
Bottleneck, as they would say.
The bottleneck is simply corruption. I mean, you've been put in there by political patronage. So you cannot. And then, was it last week or a week before the last when we were talking about the fact that we had people in the payroll, like jackpot and all that. So you need the will and the grit with technology. You can't just continue to stay there. And then finally, when
before you say
cannot
finally,
pay,
when you talked about the jackpot thing, something came to mind. I was having this conversation with someone, and we're talking about governors, political office holders that move from one aspect of governance to another, move from the state, governing the state, to being in the Senate. They still collect pensions.
What do you call that?
They collect pension.
What do you call that?
After serving 4 or 8 years.
Yes.
And then we have civil servants who have been accused of being abroad and still collecting their salaries.
Yes.
Now the question now is, who taught who? Who taught who? Is it the civil servants that taught the political office holders, or the civil servants
is the head of the thieves,
learning from the leaders?
Alibaba is the head of the thieves.
Well, we have a minute, so let's just
the thieves
wrap this up in a minute.
They grow up and become...
So the people are learning from their leaders.
From their rulers. And so when you are not capable of showing that good example, Moses, when you begin to jump up in a marsh, you're not going to survive. You go deeper. We have the moral downturn in everything we do, and there's absolutely no sense of shame. While that is going on, to underline my sense of not having a sense of shame, we have governments at all levels, especially at the federal, that now takes a decision that we cannot pay minimum wage, but we can pay, pilgrimage. We can have a governor, a deputy governor, a speaker of the House of Representatives, while these people are going on Hajj, lying to ourselves over religiosity. My point is, it's been done, it can be done, by personal example, by creative ingenuity. One of the things that we did, when we realized in the private sector that we could not accommodate all, we decided to retrain. We take people out.
Not lay off.
Retrain them for, you can go into agri. You have farmlands that can, and then you have the security issues. Again.
Oh, so you basically lay them off their job, but empower them to do something else.
Empower them, and they were happy to do it.
Okay.
They were extremely happy to do it.
This is a conversation that we can get into.
They are into SMEs. These things are is possible, but
we'll get into this conversation in subsequent times on the show. But right now, let's get into this one. The words of an APC chieftain, Olatubosun Oyintiloye, who has said, look, act fast as Nigerians are starving and some food items are no longer affordable. He goes ahead to plead with President Tinubu to act fast, of course. And then we also have the statement from the prophet of our time, Primate Ayodele, who has warned of political coup against the Tinubu administration. He reeled out some prophecies. Well, he does this every year, but this one is coming mid-year, I must say. Oh well, let's look at these conversations when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's law.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, Vop TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. Vop TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on Vop TV. Entertainment like never before. Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. Showing from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Well, on a call to action, Olatubosun Oyintiloye, chieftain of the All Progressives Congress APC, has urged President Bola Tinubu to urgently address the soaring food prices in Nigeria. Speaking in Osogbo on Sunday, Oyintiloye highlighted the dire economic conditions pushing many Nigerians below the poverty line, struggling to find their next meal. He stressed the need for the president to declare a state of emergency on hunger and poverty, warning that hunger poses a threat to national peace. Oyintiloye also cited a United Nations prediction that 82 million Nigerians, or 64% of the population, may face hunger by 2030. Well, that one was released on Saturday. He pointed out to the National Bureau of Statistics data showing a record food inflation rate of 40.66% in May, despite Nigeria's rich natural and human resources. He criticized past governments for failing to drive the economy effectively to combat food crisis. Well, he also pointed out that the previous government and current government are both that of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and a party that he also belongs to. Well, Oyintiloye urged President Tinubu to consider reopening the Benin Republic border for food imports. Meanwhile, Primate Elijah Ayodele, leader of the Inri Evangelical Spiritual Church, has warned President Bola Tinubu of an impending political coup, claiming there are saboteurs within his government. While speaking at the launch of his 30th warning to the nation in Lagos, speaking to journalists, Ayodele urged Tinubu to monitor his health while considering a second term. He also highlighted the government's continued borrowing, the financial struggles of state governments, and warned of a potential referendum and Senate upheaval, cautioning Tinubu to be vigilant against internal threats. Now, our guest in the studio, we still have with us Mr. Akin Fatunke, who is an economist, an accountant, and a public affairs commentator, and also a communications expert. And we also have Barrister Darlington Agumo joining us in the studio. Good morning to you, Barrister. Good morning to you, Mr. Akin, Mr. Fatunke, once again.
Thank you very much.
All right, let me quickly, let me start off with you now, Mr. Fatunke. Should we take this statement? I mean, these are things that Nigerians have been talking about, really. The fact that the hunger, hardship is increasing. Earning power of Nigerians is reducing. And we just read this morning, one of the things that Nigerians would usually fall back on to calm their nerves, which is taking alcohol, is becoming expensive because of borrowings in that industry. They're finding it hard to stay afloat. What then happens to, the Jolly Good Friday evenings that keep the people anger suppressed? Okay, that's on a lighter note. But should we hold this, should we take this, should we hold on to these statements as sources of concern, especially should the president be concerned about this statement coming from a member of his party?
I will be shocked if he's not concerned. It's not possible for any normal human being. I know that in the corridors of power, we have a lot of abnormalities. And when Lord Acton says corruption blinds you, absolutely. You become inured, and you become like Queen Antoinette during the French Revolution. She could not understand why people in the countryside wanted to go on strike, and he said, if you don't have bread, give them cake, because she could not understand. So I know that is possible. Oyinlola, to the best of my recollection as an analyst, is not making this statement for the very first time. I know that statement has been made some time ago. Does that make it invalid? No. I agree with Oyinlola that state of emergency ought to have been declared 24 years ago, if you like. I mean, maybe I exaggerated the date. But the change agenda that the current president has should have done. We all know we are in danger. He knows we are in danger. He has also said that he knows that
the president doesn't have a change agenda. He has a renewed hope agenda. The previous administration was a change agenda.
Okay.
And we saw the changes that came from that one. Okay. But the renewed hope right now, Nigerians are...
Were they positive changes? We had,
well, that's what we will
exactly.
debate.
So my point is, as a manager and leader of men and resources, you do your assessment. As far as I know, with inflation galloping at 40%, unemployment out there, kidnapping, security, we have SDGs, 17 goals, all indicating full-blown red or, yellow to red and all that. So what exactly are we talking about? What should therefore happen is something much more pragmatic, something exemplary, which unfortunately I've not seen with this government. I didn't see it with the previous government. I didn't see much with the government before. In the past 20 years of our being, we didn't plan for the rainy day. Nobody knew COVID was going to come. Nobody knew that we were going to get the kind of shocks that we had both overseas and locally. But whereas others are aligning and coming to terms, we are not. And one of the reasons why we are not is because we have become too big for efficiency. We have become too big for effectiveness, and we need to begin to think about tinkering, not just with the Constitution. But
Mr. Aki, you just said you will not be surprised that the president is also worried. Is it enough to just be worried and not do anything as regarding the situations and the sufferings of Nigeria at this time?
So, David, I will unbundle that. Talk is cheap. When you don't lead by example, then you carry cans of worm. I see situations where I think this president has decided to count his chicken before they are hatched, starting from the ministers, the retinue of ministers that he appointed. I'm not sure many of them are returning the kind of dividend that we need to see. The other unbundling is that to say that nothing is being done, even if it is minuscule, would not also be entirely true. I know for sure that this president has called on the subnational governments, please, this is quasi-federation. Well, I'm the one putting the word quasi. We need, at your level, to also go back. Let's try and see what we could do while we begin to put stimulus here and there.
All right, then let's bring...
So it may be little, it may be late, but it's there.
On the way. Okay, let's bring Barrister Darlington into the conversation now. Barrister, looking at this statement from the primate now, and looking at the statement of Salihu Lukman, who is also a chieftain of the APC, where he's called on other individuals. He's called on Atiku Abubakar, he's called on Peter Obi, he's called on Rabiu Kwankwaso, he's called on political offense, Rotimi Amechi, he's called on Osinbajo, Yemi Osinbajo, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and some others to come together and save the nation by taking power, not state capture now, but taking power from this administration and ensuring that Nigerians get the dividends of democracy. What impression does this give? Does this give the impression of the APC being a house divided against itself?
Thank you, Moses. All these statements, for me, is too late in coming. In fact, they are closing the barn door when the horse have escaped. Where we are now, we don't need this type of statement. We don't.
What sort of statements do we need?
Like,
is it a call to order?
Yes, like we are hungry, come and take power. You should be wary of coup. All these things are speculations. If these people actually mean what they are saying, they ought to come out from their shelf and then do the needful, and that is demand for good governance. It doesn't take anything. Demand for good.
Isn't this a way of demanding for?
No, what they are saying, we have had it several times, like the man at INRI. He has been speaking. These are speculations. He has seen the mood of the nation.
No, he's given it's a prophecy. He did say.
How many of them have come to pass?
Well, he did say that in 2022, he said these prophecies for 2023. He said more ministries will be established. That came to pass, didn't it?
What is the
and a few other things. There are about 150 of them actually.
Let us not stop listening to these people. They have made several predictions about Nigeria which never come to pass. What is they said it that they are going to create more ministries. Tinubu said it. His people said it before he came into office. So what is that a prediction? We are talking of things that are beyond us. No, I call it prediction, please. There's no we don't have a prophet in Nigeria. The last prophet was Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad. That was the last prophet that came from God. Every other prophet is a pseudo-predictioner, as far as I'm concerned. Because look at all the things they predicted for us. Most of them came to pass. You were here when Madam Baka was telling us that Buhari is the Messiah. Buhari, God sent him this and that. What happened at the end of the day? Tell me. Did they not tell us that Tinubu have come to correct all the wrongs and all that? What happened? Even some pastors over 1,000 of them, they were at the answer of praying.
Well,
at the end of the day, what happened? So let us not please give them the name that they don't bear. What I'm saying in essence is that.
But you know, you do recall that Can dissociated itself. That's a Christian Association of Nigeria dissociated itself from the bishops that went to Abuja at that time.
But the parliament that they did it, they said it. And they called themselves men of God. And some people went to town with it. What I'm saying in essence is that this prediction about hunger, coup, take Nigeria, please, we are tired of all. Because in the first place, they were the people that brought this to become.
Barrister, you think that this present administration have the political will to help curb this? Look at it this way. We've been pointing out the fact that Nigeria is no longer a producing nation. Before now, we produce some of the, including food crops and all that we export. But when it gets to this particular time, we don't even have anything else. Even the agriculture, we have, a large arable land in Nigeria. Insecurity have made us not to be able to cultivate, to even produce the ones that we consume. But now people are calling for importation from other nations, saying that we should open the borders and all that. Now, do you think that the Nigerian government will take the major step on working on insecurity before coming back to declare state of emergency on food?
Fina, how many times have you said about this? Have you said things about this insecurity? What advice have you not given? Please answer me on this platform. I know what advice that I have been given severally. What did Tinubu do about them? Nothing. Rather, he's telling states to give him land, to give to Fulani herdsmen so that they can ranch. Is that the solution to the problem? How about Boko Haram? How about ASWAP? How about bandits? Are we also going to give them land?
What do you think is deterring the government from declaring state of emergency?
It is the political will. Look, I don't want to say certain things, but from what is going on now, I can believe that there was an agreement Tinubu ended with the North. there was an agreement he entered with the North. If not, you are the president and the chief security officer of Nigeria, commander-in-chief. Why have you not ordered the Benue people who are in the IDP camp? Go back to your homes, go back to your farms.
Can they be possible?
Why not? Tell your military, give them a marching order. How can you be a refugee in your own country? You know that Benue is the food basket of Nigeria. And you know that about this food scarcity. Do you need anybody to tell you as a president, tackle this particular matter, let Nigerians have food first. Then the agitation will reduce. The cries will reduce. But you just keep quiet because it does not bother you.
Would that help quell the issue of agitation where a particular or someone in Nigeria once made a statement of on the state of emergency saying if that is being declared in the North, it will be a targeted attempt on a particular group?
Really? Oh, please, anywhere where there is insecurity of any kind, what are you supposed to do as the president of the country? Is it not to declare state of emergency there so that you can tackle the problem?
The past administration did not do that up until this time.
Sorry?
The past administration did not do it up until this time.
No, Tinubu did it in Jos. Tinubu declared state of emergency. And there was partial state of emergency in Borno before the Chibok girls were taken away. There was state of emergency. That is the fact. So
are you referring? Is it Tinubu or
I mean, Jonathan, yes, Jonathan, yes. So because he said that it has never happened. It has happened. And because it has not happened repeatedly, that is why these things are going on.
Barrister,
if you know that you are going to be, the state of emergency will be declared in your state, you as a governor, you are the security agency, that you will do something about it.
Let's take it a step.
But because they are so sure nothing will happen.
Barrister.
Yes.
Why is the National Assembly also at this point not concerned about the state of insecurity in Nigeria? Because we know that before now, the House of Assemblies and even the Senate sometimes do call some of the security chiefs to order.
The fact remains that you have a rubber stamp. In fact, it's not even it is a seal.
All right, let's
sealed
get
them with the executive. That's why they have not
into the conversation.
No, what I'm saying is this, because he asked me a question. It's very important we trash it out.
Okay.
If everybody could have solved this problem, it's the National Assembly who should have called the president. Look, what are you doing? This is your responsibility as the chief secretary of Nigeria. But the National Assembly are not doing that. Why? They are busy signing money for their own pleasure, buying cars and all that. That's what they're after. So this National Assembly, they are rubber stamp. We said rubber stamp in the last offense. This one now, they have seen it. There is nothing you are going to tell them that you will listen to. As long as they are comfortable with the president, nothing goes wrong as far as they are concerned.
Can we say, I'm coming to you now, Mr. Fatunke, can we say that the Assembly is going in line with the president, doing the president's bidding, when we see that some individuals within the National Assembly are, one would say, plotting and orchestrating to seize power from Godswill Akpabio and also seize power from the president as it stands now. But we know that the president has been, one of the credits to him is that he's an expert strategist. How do you see this play out, especially the prophecies or declarations by the primate?
Barrister Darlington started very, very, very well, in my view, with his first statement. I may not necessarily agree, and he will agree with me, but when you see fundamental facts, truth, you can't controvert them. He said there are no prophets in Nigeria. I agree, absolutely. We have liars politicians, we have liars students, we have liars lecturers. We are all a nation of a jambalaya of lying all over the place. I do not believe that we have prophets in the form of prophets that we know. He used the word that we have people who are scientific magicians. You can predict. If 2 + 2 is 4, then you know 4 + 4 must be 8. But sometimes you know 4 + 4 might not be 8 if you are using a binary system. If you go a bit deeper. And if you look at OECD countries that are going far ahead in development, even in Africa, do you see people coming to predict that some certain things will happen? And then in any case, even if you are going to predict, you do not have the capacity to predict within your ward, local government area, to say, look, with the way things are, my prediction, Fina, where you are living at Akunwojo, and David, where you are living at Alimosho, if you do not farm, if you do not do certain things within your enclave, you are going to go hungry. Basic facts that we all know. Rather, it is politicals, if it is not Prophet Ayodele, it is going to be Mbaka and all of them. And then, of course, we all run to them and we call them my father in the Lord, my father in the Lord.
Now, let's move away from predictions now.
Having gone out of the prediction, you are talking about the National Assembly. You know, I am tired of repeating the fact that you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. You cannot get into a vehicle. One is a vehicle that is heading towards Kwara Namuda, and you are already at Lokoja, and you now tell Fina that, look, just close your eyes. By the time you open your eyes, you are going to be in Lagos, or you are going to be in Abeokuta, you are going to be in Abakaliki. You are lying to yourself. Also, that vehicle, you've been told, but you say you have faith. You've been told it has no extra tire. Okay, so chances are that on the way you might get bandits here and there. My point is simple.
Okay.
We do not run a democracy, in my honest opinion.
Okay. Now,
and because we don't run a democracy, whether it's National Assembly, whether it's the state governors, whether it's the local government administration, whether it's the federal itself, whether it's the judiciary, we are lying to ourselves. And until we come to terms with that, we ain't going anywhere.
Unfortunately, Nigerians, whether it's Nigerians lying to themselves or the leaders lying to the people, Nigerians want results at this time. Right. The president, let's move away from predictions now. Let's look at the facts on the ground.
Yeah.
Benin, the border between Nigeria and Benin is still closed. Mm-hmm. Our reporter went to my 12 the other day and did a survey and discovered from the traders there that food items, tomato, was being imported into Nigeria from Cameroon. Mm-hmm. Some borders are closed, mm-hmm. some are open. Mm-hmm. Question now is, why don't you just, let me marry this to the news that food items are being taken out of Nigeria through the back door illegally, mm-hmm. which is causing scarcity, mm-hmm. which, of course, has the ripple effect of causing hunger mm-hmm. in the land. Mm-hmm. What should this government do? Should the government throw the borders open? Or should there be other measures to ensure that what is produced in Nigeria, what is successfully produced, if we rule out insecurity, will remain in Nigeria so that Nigerians can consume and have enough?
So that we don't get into contradictions. Your first statement is the fact that the Benin border is closed.
Yes, it is.
But not closed in real terms. And so we are not looking at the south. We're not looking at the southern protectorate. We are looking at Nigeria, I suppose. Nigeria. And then so in the north, has any of the borders ever been closed?
Never.
So are we therefore talking about the fact that we are running a nation state? We are lying to ourselves. We are a territory. We have different angles of looking at things. In fact, I think it was a good book, the Bible, that said, from my womb, my conception, I have been in sin, I was born in sin. Nigeria was battered in sin and lies and deceit. We've continued to do that lie and deceit. Fina is from the southeast. I am from the southwest. We were born around about the same time. We have the same form of education. The only difference, of course, naturally, she's a girl. I'm a boy when I was born. But I see situations where I have 6 states that when we go to the center to go and do voting, she has 5.
Injustice, you say?
So there is injustice. So if there is such injustice, how then do you expect equity and fair play? I come back to my basic point. Look, let's continue to tinker like the statement you are making. So let's even assume, economics talk about ceteris paribus. Let's assume that, okay, no, so the solution, Nigerians want solutions. Okay, solution is throw the place wide open. So we throw the place wide open. Does that resolve a problem in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? We are still going
about
to
resolving our problem now, Mr. Akin.
My point is that I would rather not want to have a child than to have a child that I know that is going to be a sickle seller, and all because I just want to say that I want to have a child. No. I would rather want to have...
So let's marry that statement now to the conversation that we're having.
Yes, I'm saying the conversations we are having is that both the rulers...
So rather not throw the borders open or throw the borders open? Which one?
If I have to take a choice, I will do the Dora Akunyele style.
Remind us.
Fellow countrymen and women, Nigeria is not working. Nigeria is failed. I have failed. You have encouraged me one way or the other to fail because of the system that we have. Let's put structure together that we can all now begin to now work. That is the first thing. We keep on lying to ourselves. Now, when you, like you said, you close the borders, open the borders. If government officials or policymakers in the past 20 years tell you it is morning, better look out.
Barrister Darlington,
Yes.
Nigerian government, like Mr. Akin said is not working. But here we have that, we have this information out on the front pages of the national dailies that 30 governors spent 9.something trillion naira, equivalent to billion naira, equivalent to,
For entertainment.
Trillion, yes, on entertainment.
Okay.
And we now have this from a socio-economic pressure group saying that the pressure on Nigeria's economy heightens suicide missions among Nigerian youth.
Yes.
And we know that the youth happen to be the leaders of the future of any nation that want to be great.
If they live
Where
long
does this leave Nigeria? We also have the issue of ICPC intercepting 10 billion naira, which is supposed to be COVID-19 fund. 10 billion COVID-19 fund.
Don't forget to add, NDLA, seasoned drugs, tramadol, and stuff like that.
Now, where does this leave
Nigeria
and as a nation?
Now, let me ask you too. Who are the people that are supposed to take care of these things? Is it not the leadership? Your leaders are encouraging this thing. That is why it continues to fester.
Do you see what happened in Kenya coming back to Nigeria?
The leaders are encouraging what exactly?
They are encouraging corruption. They are encouraging corruption. If not, they set up ICPC, they set up EFCC. Have they given them the free hand to operate? The answer is capital no.
So do you see what happened in Kenya coming back to Nigeria?
Why not? It's a matter of time. Because nature abhors a vacuum. It's a matter of time. If not in our generation, the people that are coming, our children, they will say, no, our father tolerated, will not. Barrister. Even from history, go and check.
Barrister, interestingly, the United Nations did predict that 82 Nigerians will be facing severe hunger in 2030. 82 million Nigerians. No, I'm trying to get us something. I'm trying to get us something.
What everybody knows.
As it stands, the country is still having issues with the fact that we cannot give a Dangote refinery crude oil enough to produce the fuel that we consume on a daily. What would you say that this government needs to do right for all of this to not have any major effects in the near future? Because as it stands, we are nose diving.
Okay. Was it not this federal government that invested 20% into Dangote industry refinery?
But as it stands, oil theft is not making them give the crude oil.
Did they need anybody to give that man crude oil to refine? The day you will unravel what is going on at NNPC, that day Nigeria will realize their mistakes. As long as NNPC is still where it is, You said you have liberalized the NNPC. It's not a private company. But up to today,
they've also declared a state of emergency.
Up to today, Mene Kyari is telling you that they should declare. But he's the man heading the place. Up to today, he doesn't know what is going on there.
That's to help Nigerians understand. So, what exactly is Mene Kyari doing to still be the group GMD of NNPC for over how many years now?
Oh, when you are hearing principality and powers, you think they are ghosts. They are human beings. No. They are human beings. Principalities and powers. They decide what will happen, and it will be so, whether you like it or not. In fact, these people, they have teamed up. They are, when you hear cabal, these are the people we are talking about. If not, for a man who has failed in all fronts, why is he still there? No, answer me. For somebody who collected our money and walked away and is telling us to go and pay you, what does that tell you? No, you are talking of people who have destroyed this country. You are still working on all fronts.
Because of
we
time,
cannot help ourselves except to take the bull by the horn.
Because of time.
The level of corruption is so high.
Let's get Mr. Fatunke's closing thoughts. I saw your reaction when we talked about the state of emergency in the oil and gas sector. Let's get your closing thoughts in about 60 seconds.
State of emergency in oil and gas sector, that is my sector, yes, absolutely. State of emergency in security, state of emergency in education.
Will that help salvage anything, Reverend? What is going on in your sector?
State of emergency in my sector?
Yes. Will a call for a state of emergency salvage
the sector? Do you know that even within this rough jacket that you have, like I told you, we need total restructuring. But within the oil and gas, let President Bola Tinubu take the political will and make a statement today. It will not solve all the problems, but make a statement today that I am no longer the Minister
of Petroleum. I'm telling you.
Just make that statement. So people now then say, what's going to happen? Can you look for somebody who understands the terrain, who will come? Obasanjo did something similar. He did something similar in, parasecurity apparatus when he got Ribadu at one point in time and he backed him up before we started our downturn. So that is one. Then secondly, within the oil and gas, Henneken Lolukbegberi and Mele Kyari, if President Bola Tinubu does that, so they should also rise.
We'd like you to speak up a little bit so we can hear you.
They will also, I'm speaking in low tones because I know they may not want to accept.
Okay.
There has to be a political way to be able to do this. You see, truth is very, very hard to swallow.
So there has to be a political
and come out and say, even if you say I should continue to be there, it has happened in this country before, even within the oil and gas. I honorably bow out.
Okay.
And when you honorably bow out, then people will ask you, say, look, I have people that should be able to do it because people have lost trust and confidence.
All right, then. Well, 60 seconds is up.
60 seconds is up.
Yes, that was the time allocated.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for your thoughts. Now, we'll go into another conversation now. It seems a victory for Serap as court orders Buhari's minister, Sadiya Umaru Farouk, to account for 729 billion naira payments to millions of poor Nigerians. Let's talk about this one when we come back.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Well, start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. Showing from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Well, glad to have you back. It is still VOP this morning, right here on Voice of the People Television. And we're just going to dive straight into the second conversation. Well, interestingly, in Lagos, the Federal High Court has ordered former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Ms. Sadiya Umar Farouk, to account for 729 billion naira in payments made to 24.3 million poor Nigerians over 6 months. The court also mandated her to provide a detailed list of beneficiaries, including the number of states covered and the payments per state. The judgment, delivered by Honorable Justice Dende Isaac Dikpeolu, follows a Freedom of Information suit brought by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. Justice Dikpeolu ruled that the former minister must disclose how beneficiaries were selected, the mechanism for payment, and of course justify the distribution of 5,000 naira to each recipient, which accounts for 5% of Nigeria's 2021 budget. The court dismissed the minister's objection and ruled in favor of SERAP. Well, we still have here inside the studio with us Barrister Darlington Agumo and Mr. Akin Fatuke, helping us do justice to these topics. I'm going to start with you, Barrister. Justice for the Nigerian people, justice for SERAP. At this point, what measures do you think can be taken to ensure transparency and accountability in governance, particularly in this particular ministry?
The first thing that we should do is to hold the leadership accountable. Look, we don't need SERAP to remind the government of what it's supposed to do. EFCC is there. I remember under Obasanjo, Chief Mike Adenuga was invited by EFCC to come and account for a certain army general who invested in his telecom industry. Adenuga refused to answer. Obasanjo ordered them to break into his house. Adenuga left this country from his from the backyard. He ran away from this country. Obasanjo did it. It was after many years that maybe there was discussion, the man now came back and all that. Tafa Balogun, a whole IG of police, we saw what Niwurubade did to him under the instruction of Obasanjo. Look, Obasanjo is not, I'm not a fan of Obasanjo, but he meant well with that corruption fight. That was why he established it in 2003. But what happened later? Speeches, talk, no action. The EFCC chairman is telling us that the file he saw in his office, the humongous amount of money, what are you doing about them? The owners of that file, are they dead? Are they not alive? The Attorney General is still telling you about injustice and all that. Eh? So, if you have a leader who meant well, you don't need, he will take action. That's what I'm saying.
Talking about taking action now, it was this present administration that also called on Better Aid, who happens to be the minister in the same department now, to talk about 585 million naira. It was under this administration of Tinubu that they were, major inquiries into that ministry, and also suspension was also carried out. And we also have the 30 billion naira linked to 50 bank accounts in Nigeria still pending by EFCC. Now, Barrister Darlington, what does this really portend in Nigeria and fighting of corruption?
It means that you are not ready to do anything. They are just talking. They just want you to believe that they are doing something. Meanwhile, they are not doing anything. I have not seen any major hit credited to Tinubu in this corruption fight.
Do we really need all this creation of ministries that we have in Nigeria, given the fact that we have a Russia report saying that some of these MDAs that we have are not really doing what they're supposed to do, some are duplicated, and some should be faced off? He started by implementing that report. What happened? Some people just shouted from the north, and he kept quiet. So that means that this present administration is not ready to fight corruption? He is not ready. I've told you, somehow, I have said it before, I don't know whether Tinubu is the president of Nigeria or president of the north. Now, Barrister Darlington, whatever they say, he will abide by it. Are you also of the opinion that once you join APC, according to what Adams Oshiomhole said during his campaign, that your sins will be forgiven? Because we have the Better Edu not being persecuted over this 585 million naira. And even when EFCL found out that They have 50 bank accounts linked to the probe of 30 billion naira. Nothing is still being done.
Let them continue to assemble all the sinners in their house. By the time the house is full of sinners, do you need anybody to tell you what will happen? A house full of sinners, what do you think will happen? It will implode. That's the simple truth. What is going on now under the Tinubu'S watch? Is that what he told us? Is that what he campaigned for? Because he was allowing all these things, all manner of people. He told us anybody who did not perform, he's going to sack the person. Has he sacked anybody?
Okay.
With all the things all the reports you are getting, has he sacked anybody? Answer me.
Well, he did suspend the minister who was found wanting. That's Dr. Betta Edu.
What happened to the case now?
Well, we don't know for
Still
sure.
under investigation.
Let's also put this information.
There should have been prosecution. Moses,
let's put this information out there.
Somebody.
Let's put this information out there that the federal government has recovered $24 million. EFCC recovered about 30 billion naira credited to her, Betta Edu, the suspended minister. Would it be fair? Let me come to Mr. Fatuke now. Would it be fair to say that Tinubu, President Tinubu, panders to the north, saying that when he came to CBN offices that were situated in the northern part of Nigeria, he relocated them to Lagos against the wills of certain big players in the northern part of Nigeria?
Yeah, you could say the political way he didn't. The CBN governor did. Well, he appointed the CBN governor. And if he did not believe in that, I know something will have happened. So I think, yes, on the positive side, and thank you, Moses, to also say within the Betta Edu saga, some recoveries are being made, but I see where Barrister Darlington is still having his fist cough, even though covered. That yes, look, when things are not happening right, for trust and credibility, you don't continue to wait and wait and wait and wait. I have no problems. Okay, the will of justice grinds slowly. But when
I have a problem with that statement.
When you say,
sorry to interrupt you. Well, sorry to interrupt your train of thoughts there. The problem I have with that statement is this verdict now to given to former minister Sadia started in 2021. Mm-hmm. It's a fight that stirred up and backed upon 2021. Yes. A fight set up and backed upon it. You see, you're even trying to remember.
Yeah,
it started in 2021. Yes. It started in 2021.
When Sarah first wrote about
when they first wrote demanding for the freedom of information,
left office in 2023. Effectively,
this payment.
This
payment started in 2021.
No, I have no problem with that.
My question here is
it went to court.
Yes.
When Bola Tinubu came on board, and then he started saying
the
one or two
delay
things
of judgment. That's the question I'm.
Okay.
That's the question I want to ask.
Delay of judgment, yes.
This is a fight. This is this is a fight that started in 2021.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Asking for information under the FOI Act.
Yes.
Asking for information to be made public.
Yes.
Started in 2021.
Yes.
And here we are in 2024.
Yes.
How does this help government administer governance effectively when judgments like this that demand freedom of information, that demand information to the people, takes this much time to be heard?
I know it's because I use the word that the wheels of justice grind slowly. Yes, they do grind slowly. It does not matter if you convolute it. At the end of the day, you get yourself, you are going to hang. You are right. You are right. Moses, do we have governance at all levels? And that takes me to a positive thing that has come in here. I was in your studio, and when people were saying the Sarah did and stuff like that, toothless bulldog, I say, look, let it be there that you have put your feet to the door. The door is not closing entirely. Not open, not closing entirely. Again, We all cavil the judiciary. Okay? Justice Dikpeolu has just, well, if that's just my assumption is right, has just been appointed. And clearly, he decided that he's not going to allow a few things. One of the things that I thought was not going to happen is like what happened in Kogi. So Sadia Omar will not then say, look, I don't want your jurisdiction in Lagos. I want it to be moved to Abuja.
Yeah, but she's a minister. She's not an elected official. What happened in Kogi is a former elected official.
Yes, the former Kogi governor has no immunity anymore. So he is still saying that he wants his, the court of judicial to move to Lokoja. My point is therefore simple. I commend the judiciary under Dikpeolu for what he has done. I also have my doubts. 720-something billion in Yoruba land where I come. They say when that is heart go shaky very, very, very well, and it's going to have ratchet effects, demonstration effects. Virtually, most politicians are going to be sucked in, and so you may not see this get to the light of day.
Okay.
And then finally, you know, when you have a sense of shame, even the seeming appearance that this is on, it's not going to make you not going to continue to paint your face or whatever it is. But what we have in Nigeria is that the big men are behind what we are having here now. Okay. And Barrister then maybe my final
let's get another guest into it. Let's get a
Barrister said that the youths, what is happening in Kenya
might be revisited on Nigeria. Okay.
Let's be careful.
Let's get Barrister Henry Ikena into the conversation. Good morning to you, Barrister. Now we're talking about something in your own profession. It's a victory for Serap. Is this a victory for democracy as well, as it concerns the Freedom of Information Bill, Freedom of Information Act, where Nigerians asked questions through Serap, and now they seem to be having answers. The minister, former minister, Sadia Umaru Farouk, has been asked to explain how these monies were spent, 729 billion naira to 24.3 million poor Nigerians, and then the 5,000 naira that was also given, she's been asked to explain all of this. Is this victory, or are we going to see, like our studio guest, one of our studio guests just said, are we going to see a situation whereby some prominent Nigerians that may be involved will trample on this and prevent justice from being served?
Yes, apparently I think this is the beauty of the intendment of the legislature in enacting the Freedom of Information Act. And we've always enjoined Nigerians to explore the legal opportunities that are available under that act. So it's excellent. And again, it's also a way of citizens to continue to participate in determining the affairs that govern them by way of continuous participation, even post-election, to ask questions, demand for information that we know are in custody of public officials. That's what the Act requires. So it's commendable that Serap had continued to push on public interest suits like other organizations, and then this has actually come to put the question right. I recall that when the administration of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, came up with these, if you like, say social welfare programs and humanitarian programs, and every time you would hear that there is a list of vulnerable Nigerians, this amount of money being voted, and then here we're talking about over 700 billion naira. But the reality is that we are all from communities, and we have relatives who are vulnerable. I have a mother who is a widow, and then I have aunts and uncles and other vulnerable persons back there in the community. But no single person has been seen by me and a lot of people around me to have testified to have benefited from these programs. So the controversies that actually covered this program, I think this is a way that will probably unravel. Then the question as to whether this is actually going to open the can of worms, of course, really, that one would imagine the way Nigerian public officers and politicians deal with our public funds. I have always said that there is a conspiracy of a class of the elites in this country. So sometimes when you hear this enormous volume of corruption, over 700 billion to be accounted for, not to say that the entire 700 billion plus have been misappropriated, but that's the amount involved in probably that program. I imagine that there are a lot of persons in that chain of approvals and procedure to effecting this program that would know about it. So sometimes when we hold public officers accountable and responsible to their actions, and then pursuant to the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act, we imagine that beyond the principal individual, there may be other persons who may have conspired, aided, and probably abated, and then those who have one way or the other got involved in that process. But they all have to account. So it's commendable, and I think we enjoy Nigerians to explore this law and ask for more questions.
Barrister Harry, do you think this present administration is ready to even look to the direction, even when the can of cacao is being opened, given the fact that Jim Obaze, after his investigation, ruled out so many findings it got from there, and nothing actually has been done about that? And also in Nigeria here, we have this app where Nigerians can, do a comprehensive appraisal of the ministers, the MDAs. And just as after that app was being opened, Nigerians talked about how some ministers are not performing well, and yet those ministers are still there manning the ministries.
Yes, I understand that Nigerians are willing and desirous to asking questions, but sometimes the medium or the opportunities and platforms to be able to ask those questions may also be a constraint. So when we heard this administration launching an app, and then supposing that that app will create an opportunity of feedback between Nigerians and the government, the administration, there would have been some sort of hope. But I think also that since after the day of the launch of that app, I haven't heard much about it. I haven't heard much about how Nigerians have accessed and, of course, leverage on that app, if at all is functional. And I also haven't heard how the operators of that app, that program, to have come to the public to say how much of information they have got from Nigerians as feedback, and how much questions have been asked, and what responses government has had on them. That's why sometimes when they roll out these policies, from the outset, we would wonder whether they are actually determined about the objectives of those policies and programs.
Don't you think it's also the issue of opening a kind of CACOM that leads to that? Because we also know that once the KPI of the ministers are being measured by that particular app, so many ministries were called out, like the Minister of Power, that of Defense, which the present administration have come out to give vote of confidence on, and also some other ministries also happen to be on the top radar of those that are not performing well after their KPIs were being looked into. Don't you think that that was all led to that app not working effectively again?
Yes, I think I would agree that perhaps they never knew that Nigerians were going to be that responsive to exploring that app. And then that also demonstrates that they weren't committed and there wasn't the will in the right direction as to the objective of that app. Sometimes when we formulate policies, those who follow up in analyzing those policies will imagine that the policies would have been well-intended if the determination is really there and the will. So yes, I would agree that even before such apps were launched, and even the Freedom of Information Act, Nigerians have always been curious in asking questions. But it's just that we really never had the platforms and to be able to reach out wider, because we just keep talking amongst ourselves in taxis and in buses and on the streets. So you could hear every time you step out that Nigerians are agitating. But I think with the liberalization of the media, you could imagine that the scope has broadened. The frontier is wider. If you tune on to a radio program, you hear all classes, all strata of Nigerians calling in and making contributions, meaning that we are desirous to asking questions and ensuring that we fix our country right. But the problem has been more with our leaders, who I do not think have that intention to fix things right.
Let's bring it back to the studio now, Barrister
from the
Henry.
outset, it wasn't intended to work. So I think that, but that shouldn't be, because the purpose in the first instance for formulating such policy and launching such app was to get Nigerians to ask questions. So if the state will pull down that app or make it ineffective because Nigerians were asking questions, we called out the Minister for Power, but of course we should call him out.
All right then. Barrister, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have to come back to the studio. Let's ask our studio guests a few questions before we run out of time.
All right, quickly. I'm just going to ask you, Barrister Darlington, at this point, some persons and some quarters have said this judgment seems like a selective judgment. Why is there no extensive justice for some other ministries? Now, bringing it down to the recent one of Beta Edu, interestingly, some monies have been recovered. But the question now would be, why is the EFCC not prosecuting this particular case as much as they do with other cases? Now, some coalition of civil society groups have vehemently made their statement saying they hear that there is most likely a level of reinstatement of Beta Edu into the ministry again, or into power, or into government again. Now, why is there no level of prosecution being made on the Beta Edu issue? Which is why I said, is this not some level of selective justice? That's one. Secondly, there's been some concerns about how transparent and accountable the MDAs are. What can the government do in terms of checking corruption and accountability in our MDAs, both from the government level and the House of Assembly level? These two questions quickly. Now,
About selective prosecution, that has been the bane of EFCC and the bane of this government. They dwell so much on selective prosecution, and that is where they are getting it wrong. That's why the fight against corruption is not moving forward. I will not be surprised if the woman involved should go to another court to vacate that order, a court that will listen to her. And they will start asking Sarah, what local standard do they have? I will not be surprised. It has happened in this country. Look at what's going on in Rivers. So we don't have a standard procedure for these things. I am telling you, and it worries me personally.
Are we not going to blame the government or Judiciary by not doing what they're supposed to do?
We must blame the government, because if they have a standard procedure which is already in the acts of this government, they don't need to worry. Go and implement what the act says. Give them a matching order. That is why EFCC, they look at the body language of the president before they can do anything.
But EFCC have come out also to say that they try carrying out some investigation, pull out so many information from the investigation. When it gets to court, that the court actually will not be the one that will douse their own feeling on how they will carry out the judgment as regards the case.
The court is a different ballgame, but the leadership, if they want somebody to be prosecuted, I'm telling you, Fena, that person must be prosecuted. But if you are in their good book, just like Oshomolo told you, you can do no wrong.
All right,
that is the problem.
Because of time.
Most of these people, now remember that some people were properly jailed. The EFCC prosecuted them. I think Nyame, Jolly Nyame, and some other.
Yes.
They were put in prison. Wasn't that Buhari that brought them out?
They were granted
and even giving them a national honor. At that point, are you not supposed to be weak as a corruption fighting agency? So we have cases and tons of them. It is the leadership. If you are in their good book, nothing will happen to you, no matter what you do in this country. That's a fact.
Okay.
And we have evidence.
All right.
So going to obtain freedom, Even Lagos State, when one journalist wants to obtain information from them, what did Lagos State tell? They said that's the federal law.
Okay.
That in the state, they don't have such a thing here.
All right, because of time now, let's go around, I guess. Let me start off with Barrister Henry Kine in a few minutes. One minute, please. Like David did point out, certain civil society organizations are concerned about a possible reinstatement of Dr. Betta Edu into the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. What if that happens? What would that portend for the fight against corruption?
Who told you she's not working from home already?
Barrister, please.
Our constitution allows for the presumption of innocence for any person alleged to have committed an offense. So to the extent that that's the constitutional right, it will mean that whatever allegation that is leveled against any citizen until the court has entertained that matter to the fullest on its merit and determine one way or the other, especially.
But what does this portend for? What does this portend for the fight against corruption?
That person is presumed innocent. So arguably, the rights of a person begins at some point and ends at some point, and also the right of another person begins from that point. So even if the government has the right to prosecute any person alleged of misappropriating public fund, that individual also has a right to be heard, given fair hearing and the presumption of innocence.
All right.
So if the ministry or whatever internal mechanism that has been deployed consider that she should return to her office until the conclusion of investigation and prosecution, I know that it will raise certain discussions, of course, even positions amongst Nigerians.
But
as the credibility of the position of the government with respect to fighting corruption. But if you look at it legally and on the perspective of the right of the alleged Minister Edu, then you would imagine that it appears that you're victimizing her, or you already are judging that she's guilty and convicted by whom here?
All right, the same. This just brings to mind the same.
Commission. It can be.
Sorry to interrupt you. This just brings to mind the same question we asked earlier as to why these prosecutions drag so long. Now, let me quickly ask you another question now. Can Sadiya Umaru Farouk appeal the judgment asking her to make those information available? Barrister Henry.
Sorry, let me get that again, please.
Can ex-minister Sadiya Umaru Farouk appeal the court's judgment asking that she makes the information of how that money, the over 700 billion naira was spent, available? Can she appeal that judgment?
Yes, of course, she can.
All right.
Every order or decision of court is appealable, of course, if it's at the trial stage,
then.
including the order of mandamus mandating the former minister.
All right then. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now let's get your parting shot, please. Let's get your parting shot in 30 seconds.
I said. I think I heard whether she can appeal against the order of the court mandating her to provide information, and I said yes, she can. It's appealable. Every order or judgment of the court is appealable.
All right, so it's not victory. It's not.
It's going to the appellate court.
All right, so it's not victory for Serap just yet. Until okay.
And it
all right
cannot
then.
be.
It may not be. All right, let's come to Mr. Fafatunke now. Let's get your concluding thoughts and every other thing that you have to say.
It's not a matter of Serap. It's a loss for Nigeria. When, like you said, Ekine, thank you very much. And it's the reason why I say the wheels of justice drive slowly. It has happened so many times before. It's even taken close to about 10 years, and then the court comes out and then frees the person. So what then do you do?
Or the court may entirely prosecute. And that's the end of
what should happen, from my own controls accounting perspective, is for us to plug and prevent this from happening.
Okay.
There are people in that ministry, there are permanent secretaries, there are people down the line who have aided and abetted. Well, these people know that
we have less than a minute, please.
They are going to be in the dock. they will be much more careful.
Okay.
Finally, within my 1 minute, I want to place it on records because I always want to be very fair. If I were to be in Bola Tinubu's shoes as president, yes, I know that you can now wait.
Okay.
I think I will have sacked Betaidu. And it's also not true that he has not done anything by way of corruption. We have the CBN going on. We need to see more.
All right.
And then we need to fasten.
All right, then the 1 minute has expired. Thank you very much for your thoughts.
The whole process.
Your time. Let's, barrister, another barrister in the building.
Yes.
Let's get your concluding thoughts in 30 seconds. Thank you very much.
Moses, until we get a man who wants to fight corruption, Nigeria will never move forward. All this haphazard approach to this matter, it has not helped us.
Should we put that one on
I am telling you, the most important thing that his Buhari have done is to call Buhari to order. Buhari took in fact, of all this money, Buhari's one is the lion's share. He told us how he collected money from CBN under ways and means, without no appropriation, no application, nothing. And he said he got 23 trillion naira.
All right, Barrister.
Without any explanation. Is he not supposed to say this man come? Or rather, he took the matter to National Assembly to investigate. Meanwhile, EFCC is there. Is that the attitude of a man who wants to fight corruption?
All right, and this is how far we can go. We must say a very big thank you to you, gentlemen, for staying with us on the show today. A big thanks to Mr. Akin Fatunke, who is a communications consultant and also a big player in the oil and gas sector and a public affairs analyst. A big thanks to you also, Barrister Darlington Agumo, and a big thanks to Barrister Henry Ekine, who is a human rights lawyer. Well, thank you very much once again for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll touch on entertainment, sports, and business. Stay with us.
From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lord.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
All right, now let's get into the world of business. NEL Fund begins, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, has announced that student loan applications are now open for 36 state-owned tertiary institutions across Nigeria, starting today, starting July 7, actually, which was yesterday, 2024. Well, NEL Fund made this announcement through its official X account, highlighting that these institutions have successfully submitted their student data to the NEL Fund student verification system. But the management has urged other state-owned tertiary institutions to promptly submit their complete student data to the NEL Fund SVS to ensure their students can also benefit from the scheme. All right, so we do hope that this will be adhered to. But that's it on business. Join us for more business stories at 10 o'clock during the business hour. All right, let's get straight to entertainment. The delectable Chisom Eyinaya is in the building. Good morning to you, Chisom.
Good morning, Mr. Moses. Good morning.
All right, so let's get into it.
Okay, so Afrobeat star Davido and his baby mama, Sophia Momodu, are still in a legal battle for the custody of their daughter, Imade. In a new development, Sophia claims Davido's controversial lifestyle, which often attracts negative media attention, could expose Imade to trauma at her tender age. She argues that Davido allows different male adults around him, which might not be positive influence on their daughter. As an artist, Davido travels extensively, making it challenging for him to be with Imade during crucial times. Sophia also questions whether Imade's proper upbringing can be guaranteed when Davido is married to another woman. She also stated that the unfortunate circumstances surrounding the death of Davido's son, Ifeanyi, raises concerns about Imade's safety in his custody. However, Davido expressed displeasure over Sophia's unusual, reference to the death of his son and said all he wants is joint custody and not sole custody. He assures Sophia that Imade won't be a child forever, but will grow up to see how much he fought for her. All right,
unfortunately, this is playing out, and well, this happened over the weekend, and yes, Sophia's uncle, Dele Momodu, also got into the conversation, trying to ensure that, look, peace reigns. He's trying to mediate to ensure that peace reigns. It's unfortunate. It's also unfortunate that Sophia brought up the death of Ifeanyi. That is unfortunate.
That's like you live in an assumption of a future that you don't even have an idea of.
Sometimes the question, if she's
it's unfortunate though.
Going over to open the wound, on the mother and
that can be really hard.
So insensitive.
She's called low points there. But we do hope that they get to sort this out, because the life of Imade is what we're talking about here. She's still young. She's 9 years old. We hope that she will grow up to love both parents and not feel that one neglected her. Well, thank you very much, Chisom.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, David, you're taking us into the world of sports. What's up? David is the sporty man. Sporty man.
Well, the beautiful part of it is that the Honorable Minister has come out. I'm talking about Senator John Owen Eno, has come out to say that Team Nigeria going into the Olympics this month would be given adequate and all of the support that they need at this time. And definitely, we are seeing it happen because the Falcons already in Sevilla, that's in Spain. They plan to have a friendly match between themselves and Canada. And then also, Team Nigeria has also poured out a list of athletes that will be going to the Olympics. So all of this and more, you definitely will be getting in our program, Sports Republic, by 11 a.m. West African time. So thank you so very much for being here, and it's a pleasure having you always. I want to say to everyone who has taken the time to watch us today, whatever you can do it rightly. And of course, keep Nigeria a safe place. Have a great day ahead. God bless Nigeria.
From Fina Okechukwu, try as much as you can to work on yourself so that your mental health will not be touched by anyone. Yeah, I know when you go through the papers, you get the amount of money Nigerians are talking about, looted money, also being looted. And we want to ask what is really happening. And to all the youth out there, we heard that the pressure on the economy is making you to think of suicide being the only option. Please don't even think about it. Deceit. And when you're having such thoughts coming in your mind, try to talk to someone. Government, do something, because Nigerian youth, we are the future of this country.
Oh yes, Nigerian youth are the future. And what I would say would be, I'll touch on the judiciary and how things are explained away. In the fight against corruption, I think the judiciary should ensure that it is not seen as playing to the gallery of politicians. If truly the talk about reinstatement of Beta Edu is out there, well, I think true diligence should be seen to be done, so that Nigerians will not look at this government as not willing to fight corruption. Well, I pray that things will work for Nigeria and for Nigerians. I'm Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day. Bye for now.